Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our session on HS2's community and local business opportunities. My name's Matt Hadlington. I'm a Senior Business Engagement Manager at HS2, and I'll be hosting the event today, which aims to give you a bit more information on some of the opportunities that could be coming your way as the project progresses. We've got some excellent speakers for you today, covering both the funds that will be made available as the project progresses and some of the types of business opportunities that the project could bring your way. At the end of the session, I will facilitate a short Q&A where you'll be able to ask questions using the Q&A box on the right-hand side of your screen. Just quickly, before we get started, I'm sure you've all been to lots of these now already, but just to quickly share some technical information. We don't expect any technical issues during the event. However, just a bit of advice in case you experience any problems. If your feed freezes, wait for about 10 seconds as it will probably correct itself. If this doesn't happen, use the leave button to exit the event and then rejoin using the link. You'll be able to use the toggle at the bottom of the screen to rewind back to where you left so you won't miss anything. You can also use this functionality at any point during the event if you need to pause for any reason. If there's a freeze or you disconnect and are unable to rejoin due to wider incidents that we can't control, we'll email you with further information. We will be holding a Q&A at the end, and if you look on the right hand side, you should see the Q&A comment function, which you'll be able to use at any point during the session. So please do start firing in those questions now and we'll get to them at the end. Just before we get started, I wanted to give you a little bit of an update on the project. So over the past decade, we've really been designing the railway, consulting and seeking the powers we need through Parliament to begin construction. In April this year, we received what we call a notice to proceed for phase 1 of the project between London and just to the north of Lichfield. That means that we're now beginning to construct the railway, building bridges, boring tunnels and laying tracks, which is where opportunities really start to come into their own for phase 1. For phase 2A, which extends the railway from the West Midlands to Crewe, our hybrid bill is currently progressing through Parliament, and we are hoping for royal assent in late 2020, early 21, which will give us the powers to be able to build the railway. Also, just worth noting on the project and where we are with things at the moment, there was an independent review undertaken by Doug Oakervey earlier this year and the publication of the full business case, which suggests that the government intends to align the opening of phase 2A of the project with phase 1, which is looking to be operational between 2029 and 2033. You may have seen some route-wide ground investigations starting in the 2A area of the route, and further environmental surveys are taking place as we get ready for construction in that area. The start of actual works, things like utility diversions, environmental and enabling works, we expect to commence during the third quarter of next year. For phase 2B, which is marked on this map in the orange colours, which continues the route into the northwest towards Manchester and towards the northeast towards Leeds, we have aspirations to complete that by 2040, and these are still going through consultation before a bill gets submitted to Parliament. The other thing that's probably worth touching on in terms of the project is where we are and how COVID may have impacted it. It's a difficult time for everybody at the moment, but we are progressing with the project. Government have been very clear in terms of the guidelines and that construction projects continue. We're being very careful. Safety is our #1 priority, both the safety of our workers, our staff, and the communities that we work within, but we're very much pressing ahead and we're making sure that we work within the guidance provided by Public Health in England and the wider construction industry as a whole. So that's a really quick update of where we are with the project. Without further ado, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Louise, who will talk you through the community and business funds that will be available as the project progresses.
Thank you, Matt. Hi, everybody. My name is Louise Portelli, Environment and Town Planning Manager at HS2. And yes, I would also like to introduce my colleague Samantha Cox, who is Programme Manager from Groundwork UK, and she will speak a bit later in the presentation. So, Community and Environment Fund, Business and Local Economy Fund. Alongside my colleagues, I manage this £40 million funding programme on behalf of HS2 Limited, and we work collaboratively with Groundwork UK to realise the wide-ranging community benefits this funding brings. So to provide a little bit of background, there is £40 million available for Phase 1 communities and businesses to bid for. The funds were launched in February 2017 and opened for application on the 8th of March. We are now in our 4th year of operation. However, this is a long-term funding programme which will be open for the full length of construction. An additional £5 million has been made available for Phase 2A communities, and this was announced in January 2018. Funding will not be made available for applications or administered until after royal assent of the Phase 2A bill. What we recommend is that Phase 2A communities look at the Phase 1 funding programme to date and the Groundwork UK website. This will enable them to see current operation and progress ready for royal assent of the bill. So what are the objectives of the funds? It is about supporting communities and local economies demonstrably disrupted by the construction of HS2. It's about realising benefits over and above committed mitigation and compensation already provided for. And it's about communities themselves choosing their own project priorities. We invite applications from community-based voluntary organisations, charitable and not-for-profit bodies, social enterprises, schools and local authorities. Specifically for BLEF, so the Business and Local Economy Fund, our primary target are organisations which support the development of local business and tourism. So key examples would be local enterprise partnerships, chambers of commerce and business improvement districts. It's important to note that we cannot directly fund individuals, limited liability partnerships or private sector companies. Groundwork UK undertake assessment of all applications. They are our independent grant management body for the funds and they make decisions on awards under £75,000. For governance purposes, we have an independent panel in place. This panel make recommendations on awards over £75,000 and final decisions are made by senior civil servants at DFT. So a little bit more about Groundwork UK. We certainly value our working relationship with Groundwork UK to manage the funds. As a national charity focused on creating stronger communities and making better neighbourhoods across the UK, we feel that they are expertly placed to manage the funds. Please do visit their website to find out more about the excellent work that they do. So depending on what you wish to apply for, there are several options to consider when applying for CEF and BLEF. The CEF has two funding streams, what's called CEF Local and CEF Strategic. CEF Local is for local projects and individual communities, and applications will be for £75,000 or less. CEF Strategic projects must provide benefit for multiple communities, geographies and many beneficiaries, and these will be for projects over £75,000. For BLEF, grants start at £10,000. There isn't the same split as for CEF in terms of local and strategic, but as a guide we say that projects under £75,000 should be for smaller pilot style projects, whereas projects over £75,000 will be for large scale long-term projects. Our guidance documents have recently been updated and the latest versions were published online on the 12th of June, so we really do recommend reviewing these documents before you start any applications to the fund. So there are 4 areas that Groundwork will assess applications against and all have equal weighting. They are as follows: need for the project, how your project has been planned, the disruption that will be faced, and how your project will be sustainable. There is detailed information on these criteria in our guidance document, outlining what information we would be looking for in your application against these criteria. So, depending on the level of funding you wish to apply for and the category your project fits into, there will either be a 2 or 3 stage application process, as set out briefly here in the slides. The stage process is there to support applicants and ensure that applicants do not have to spend too long preparing information before finding out if their organisation or project is eligible under our guidance and criteria. All applications are submitted online to the fund's dedicated grant management system. I'm now going to pass over to Sam, who's going to give you more detail about the funds we have provided so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. My name's Sam Cox. I'm a Programme Manager at Groundwork UK, and I oversee the management of the Seth and Bleth funds. So I'm now going to run through how many projects we've funded so far, and also how you can find out more about the projects that we've funded. You can see a snapshot on this slide of our interactive project map. This is found on our website, and it's updated with new projects who've been awarded funding at the end of every month. It provides information about what the project is and what it does, and also how much they were awarded. You just have to click on each little button and get more information about each project. So we've currently got 130 projects on the map worth £7.93 million. You can see that we've funded projects along the whole of the HS2 Phase 1 route from Euston Station in London right up to Birmingham, where there's going to be Curzon Street Station, and north of that as well. Seth and Bleth can provide revenue or capital funding, or a mixture of both. So as you can imagine, the programme's funded a wide range of projects, including improvements to community buildings, creating play areas for children, providing activities for young people, and providing support for social enterprises. So I do encourage you to visit the fund's website so you can read more about the excellent projects that we funded today. This pie chart shows a breakdown of the £7.93 million approved funding by geographical area. You can see how the funds have been distributed so far. We monitor the distribution of funds as closely, so we want to make sure that all communities receive their fair share of funding. This includes looking at where our funding's going, as well as the number of applications we receive from areas. From this, we identify priority areas where awards or applications are low, and we can target our engagement and promotion activities in those areas. Although in Phase 2A there won't be a geographical allocation, as it's a much smaller stretch of railway, we will be monitoring the funds distribution across all disrupted areas to ensure a fair distribution of funding. So we're exceptionally proud of the work that the funds have done to date, and we really enjoy telling the stories of the projects we funded through Seth and Bleth. A couple of projects here. Quainton Windmill, they received a £10,000 Seth grant to restore the village windmill. Over the years, the group had worked tirelessly to improve the windmill by restoring the sails and the grinding mechanism. And we were able to support the project in its final stages. The grant's been used to reinstate a viewing platform for local people and visitors. Apparently offers an amazing view across the landscape. The project's resulted in a visitor increase of around 10%, which provides an income for the group so they can continue to maintain the windmill for public use, along with increased revenue for local businesses such as the cafe and shops. The community tell us that the windmill's an important visual representation of their village, and it's an attraction that they're very proud of. Even the local school have the windmill as part of their school emblem. There's now a team of trained volunteers who mill flour for sale in the local community. And the second project, Woodhouse Farm and Garden, otherwise known to us as Project Pigsty, because the new space is converted from an old pigsty, and they received a grant of £10,000 to create a multifunctional indoor space to use as a learning, meeting and community space. The farm already attracted visitors as it has an 18th century walled garden, and it's also home to rare cattle breeds. However, the lack of toilets and a cafe meant that the visitor experience was poor and often too short. The new facilities have increased the number of visitors enjoying the farm. They've held visits from local schools, nurseries and they've also had fruit and wildlife days that have been open to the public. They've hosted a World Fair Trade Day celebration, and various groups now use the space for their community meetings. They've recruited 4 new volunteers, as the cafe offers a space where people can learn new skills and get some valuable work experience. So these examples show the resilience of the groups that we've funded and how they've been able to respond to the needs of their communities through the period of social restrictions. Connect Digbeth, this project has also, as well as sort of supporting social entrepreneurs with workshops which had to be paused while the social restrictions were in place. They've also produced some online resources to continue to support organisations and businesses in the area. Birmingham Civic Society, earlier this year they planted some trees in the grounds of local primary schools, and they've been able to continue to engage with schools and local residents by setting up a social media, a regular blog on their website, and a new YouTube channel which showcased an art project from school children who were being homeschooled or in school as children of key workers. Groundwork and HS2 continue to work closely with all our projects to help them adapt their plans through this time and continue to provide benefits to their communities. We're now going to take we're going to take a look at a short video of one of our projects in London.
This is one of the only open spaces off the Camden Town High Street where locals can come away and enjoy the outdoor area.
The funding that we got from HS2 has gone towards completely renovating an area so that we can provide services for the local community to grow vegetables and plants and flowers and learn about wildlife.
Everyone has commented really positively about it. We've had local people come and grow veg here and take it home and share with their families.
Dog walkers are enjoying the new space with the new paths and lawn, and it's helped them to become a much more safe environment.
From taking out the dark area, putting in the path, lightening the space and providing a space where people can actually use it for positive means the crime levels in this area has reduced.
If we hadn't received the HS2 funding, things would have kind of escalated. Our volunteers were finding a lot of needles, having to deal with a lot of slightly aggressive behaviour at times. So it's really good that we've made the space more usable for the community again and made it a much safer place for children to play.
The HS2 Community and Business Funds are there to give back to communities who are disrupted by the construction of HS2. We hope that there will be benefits of this programme in many, many years to come, which is all about HS2 being a good neighbour.
I hope you enjoyed that little video of one of our projects. As briefly mentioned earlier, the funds are currently open for applications for Phase 1 communities only. However, it was announced in January 2018 that a further £5 million has been made available for communities disrupted by Phase 2A construction scheme, which takes the railway from West Midlands up through. This funding pot will be open for funding applications following royal assent of the Phase 2A bill. We hope this information's been a useful overview. We really do encourage you to take a look at the fund's website and the programme guidance online. And if you do have any questions, please get in touch with us at Groundwork UK. We're looking forward to seeing applications for the projects that are close to yours and your community's hearts early next year. Thank you for listening, and you'll have an opportunity to ask. You'll have an opportunity to put in any questions, and we can answer those at the end of the presentation. I'll now hand over to Vicky, who'll take you through some of the opportunities available for local businesses along the HS2 route.
Thanks very much, Samantha. Hello, everyone. So I'm the Business Engagement Manager at HS2, and so I work closely with HS2 contractors and business organisations to help raise awareness of the opportunities for local businesses and to help them understand and navigate our supply chain. And so I'm going to talk through some of the types of opportunities and the ways that there are opportunities for businesses of all types and sizes to get involved and benefit from HS2. So firstly, I'm just going to talk about how we're actually building the railway. This is important to understand as a business who is interested in getting involved. So the work of HS2 is broken up into multiple contracts across several large construction companies. And so therefore it's these contractors who will be delivering most of the work on the ground, and so most opportunities will be through these contractors and their subcontractors rather than directly through HS2. And then HS2 ourselves, we regulate the requirements and the standards of these contractors, and some of the requirements that we set will then be passed down through the supply chain in a proportional way. And then the enabling works contractors are the things that you need to do to clear the way to build the main construction. And these contractors have been out and about since 2017 for phase 1. And then the main construction work, which is the tunnels, the bridges, the really big ticket items, that's all now starting to ramp up, and these contractors are out mobilising their sites. And we've also awarded the construction contracts for our stations in Euston and Old Oak Common, but we're still going through that process for the West Midlands stations. But when we think about these contracts, for every big contract that we do award, there'll be thousands of opportunities for businesses further down the supply chain, and we expect there to be around 400,000 supply chain opportunities for UK businesses across just phase 1, and around 2/3 of these are expected to be for small to medium size enterprises. And so given where the project is for phase 2A, the contractors for the main works, the big contractors aren't yet on board. So for businesses interested in getting involved in the supply chain, right now, there's lots of opportunities within phase 1, and also not just with these direct contractors, but also through their subcontractors and so on and so forth. So this slide just covers who those contractors are. So we've got Balfour Beatty Vinci, and they're delivering the main works between Birmingham to North Warwickshire. Align Joint Venture are delivering the Chilterns Tunnel associated works. EK Joint Venture are delivering the main works from Warwickshire to the M25, and SCS Railways are doing the works within the M25. And then the 2 station contractors are Maestro Gardos for Euston and BBDS for the Old Oak Common station in West London. However, there will be opportunities more locally in 2A, which they'll be arising through the early environmental works and the early civil works contracts that have been awarded, and they'll be coming across from Balfour Beatty in the next year or so. So it's something to keep an eye out as well. So as an organisation, we want to maximise the benefits the project will bring to local communities, and that means making sure that where there is an opportunity, the local business community can get involved and benefit as part of the project. And we also recognise that these local businesses can bring benefits to us as the project, offering things like greater flexibility and innovation, often lower environmental impacts, greater cost efficiencies. So all these things are things that as a local business are really important to showcase to us if you are interested in getting involved. And we are already seeing lots of local businesses get involved in the project. So we're using over 1,000 businesses who sit along the line of the new railway, and that accounts for about half of our current supply chain. And then if you look more locally, there's around 75 businesses that have already been involved in HS2 and benefited across Staffordshire and Cheshire, and around 85% of these are SMEs. And some of the pictures you can see on the slide are just some examples of the local businesses getting involved. So we've got Stephen on the top right and his team from Total Reclaims Demolitions, and they were clearing an old site in Birmingham. And then they worked closely with Kirsty on the bottom left, and she runs a social enterprise that took away the waste wood for reuse and recycling to support vulnerable people within her community. And then we've got Chris on the bottom right, and he works for a small printing company called Genie Printing, and they've been printing the newsletters and the plans and materials for one of our enabling works contractors. And then finally on the top left is Trinity Assets, and they're a Coleshill based business offering and providing accommodation to a number of HS2 workers in the area. And they're a really great example of a business that have really grasped the opportunity and promoted their business to our workers who have come to the area. And so these businesses just start to show some of the wide range of types of opportunities that will emerge from HS2 over the next few years. So looking a bit more closely at the different types of suppliers our contractors and subcontractors will need to build the railway, mobilise and manage construction sites and support the workforce, you can see on the slide there are some key categories of common supplies and services that we will be looking for. So creative services are things such as photographers, printers, signage companies. Then we've got food and catering, so that's not only kitchen setups or mobile caterers on site, but also catering for meetings and events and places for the workforce to go and get lunch on the local high street. Accommodation, that could be blocks on site, but also importantly B&Bs, hotels, private rentals will be needed to house the construction staff, but also the office staff as well. Employee services, so this covers all the things that those working in the area will be looking for, so from health and wellbeing needs such as gyms and dentists to hairdressers and places to spend time with their families as they're working in the area. And then transport and logistics is anything from private taxi hire, on and off site transport, and also logistics planning and transport management services. And then trade and construction, so that's not only the supplies that we might need to build the actual railway, but also to set up and run our sites, such as building materials, electricians, plumbers. And then we have all the sites and services that we need to just keep those sites running, so cleaners, soft landscaping, waste management, security. So we want local businesses to start thinking about how they could get involved and whether there's a place for them and their business. So picking up on this, I'm just going to talk briefly through the different ways that you could get involved throughout the supply chain, and that could be from bidding and winning a contract to providing regular purchase orders and also through worker choice, and that's about just letting us know and promoting your business. And so with all major projects, from the contract point of view, we make sure that the process is fair, it's open and it's transparent. We want to make sure that we get the best suppliers possible, but give the opportunity for any business to get involved. And also because of the scale of HS2 and our reach, one of our goals is to leave a positive legacy for the industry. And so that's around things like health and safety, equality, diversity, and our environmental impact, and trying to raise the bar on these things. And so that means that when you are looking to bid for a potential contract, you may need to demonstrate how your business can help us achieve some of those ambitions. But what I would say is don't let this put you off. Our aspirations completely reflect the type of contract, the scale of the contract, the size of the business that would be looking to win that contract. And so we also provide support. So we want to upskill businesses. So we work with local business organisations such as chambers, LEPs, growth hubs, to provide advice and services to businesses, but we also work with a online platform called Supply Chain Sustainability School, and that's a free online resource where you can gain recognised certifications on some of the key things that are important to HS2, and so that's a really good place to go and visit and have a look through if you are interested. And so I also don't want to underestimate the opportunities there are for local businesses to get involved and benefit from HS2 in the area outside of this formal supply chain contract world. So our contractors and subcontractors will be getting ad hoc and regular supplies and services through purchase orders. So this could be things like event space, catering, videography, specific signage or printing needs. And so for these, making sure your the business engagement team at HS2 know about your business is really important. If we know what the local businesses can offer, then when we're looking for something in the market, we already have businesses that we know are interested, and we can get in touch and contact to discuss any opportunities further. And then finally, at peak construction, we're going to need 30,000 people to build and design the railway. So many of them will be looking for places to stay, somewhere to eat and products to buy and things to do while they're in the area. So offering the services to our workers and letting us know what your business can offer to them is a really important way to promote and support local businesses for us as a project. Obviously, much of this activity has been on pause under the current pandemic, but as the restrictions are lifted and it's safe to do so, we will be encouraging our workers to support and use local businesses in the areas where they're working to help businesses recover and rebound in a safe way. So thinking about all these opportunities, it can be really hard to know where to start. So here I've set out some key tips, some key links that are really great next steps to take if you're interested in getting involved. So first and importantly, put yourself on the map. So what I mean by that is, as a local business, make sure that you register with us using the link. By registering with us, this will help us and our contractors and their subcontractors understand what local business communities have to offer, ensure that we promote your offer to the contractors in the area, but also keep you updated on opportunities so that we can reach out locally where we can for supplies and services. And it will also be a way that you can help promote your business to the workers where appropriate once they get onto sites. As I mentioned earlier, the contract opportunities will be advertised openly and competitively. So as such, all our supply chain opportunities are advertised through a platform called Compete4. So this is online, and we'd encourage you to sign up if you're interested in a contract with HS2, however big and small. It's completely free, and you'll receive alerts tailored to your business offer, so anything relevant to your business size and what you can provide to the project. And the next thing is to keep up to date with the works and activity in your area through our community websites. This is a really great way to, as a business, to tap into the workforce and also get a feeling for what's coming down the line in terms of contract opportunities. And then we're considering to work on HS2. I would familiarise yourself with our principles and values, as these are the things that are reflected in our requirements for contracts. And when you're going through that procurement thing, if you're able to demonstrate the delivery of these, it's a really great way for your business to stand out to us. And then make sure that you do keep in touch with us and ask questions. So we have regular events, but we also have our 24-hour help desk, and they're there to answer your questions, find the right person if they can't do so in the first point of contact. So whether it's us that we get that they go to, or a procurement specialist, they should be able to help you. I also mentioned it earlier, but the Supply Chain Sustainability School is a really good free resource to help you learn more about some of the things that are important to HS2. So do your trade, so you can do training and learning modules and gain policies and certifications that can help you with your work in the supply chain. And then finally, look to support local business organisations. Look for support from local business organisations such as the LEPs and Growth Hubs. They might be able to offer support in developing and upskilling your business. I know that Staffordshire Chamber, for instance, has a range of grants available. So hopefully this has provided you with an insight into the types of potential opportunities, the different ways your business might be able to get involved, and then some of the key takeaways to look into if you are interested. So I'm now going to pass you back over to Matt for any questions.
Off mute. Beat you to it, Laura. Yeah, thank you very much. That was a quick run through of everything. Hopefully there was some useful information in there. We've actually got an awful lot of questions in, which is really, really good. So I'm not going to hesitate. I'm just going to get straight in there and start to go through them. Let's start with the question that is always asked: are we going to share the presentation? Yes, we are. We'll share the slides after the session so you can all see those. We'll start with the first one that came in. Can you please confirm that community interest companies will be able to apply for this fund? And if so, will there be minimum and maximum grants? I think that's probably one for Louise.
Thank you, Matt. Happy to answer that question. Yes, absolutely. Community interest companies are eligible to apply for funding, and there isn't a minimum grant that you can apply for. With regards to maximum levels, if it is a local project, the maximum is £75,000. If the project is deemed to be a strategic project, then the maximum level of funding is £250,000.
Excellent. Thanks, Louise. Hopefully that answers that question there for you. Another couple which are kind of similar, so I'll try and group them together. Are there priority areas for funding in phase 2? Do you assess things like population density? Do you consider population density when you assess bids? And do you consider levels of deprivation? So in terms of, I guess maybe it's one for Sam, in terms of how you assess these bids, do you have kind of, I guess, clear things in mind that you're looking for when people put a bid in, things like deprivation, things like areas that you have in mind to target, or is it really a kind of an open process? I think probably for Sam, that one.
Yeah, so it is an open process. We haven't looked at the line of route and identified priority areas so far. What we will do is, once the funds are available and we've made awards, is just checking and making sure that we're getting applications along the route and also awarding funding along the route. So we will identify priority areas in the future.
So that's based more on hotspots as opposed to specific characteristics. Is that right? Yes,
definitely. Yeah. In terms of deprivation, we'd only look at that if that's sort of part of the need for your project. So projects that are working with particularly deprived communities won't score higher than those who are working with sort of more affluent communities. That's not part of our scoring criteria.
I guess the same would apply for population density then, in that case, would it?
Yeah, so again, what we would do is look at the number of beneficiaries that project would benefit, and we'd look at the value for money on that. So we'd look at things differently if projects were coming in from a rural area where there's a lower population to an area that's very urban and has a higher population. Again, it's kind of project type, so we may find that there, even if it's in an urban area, there's a specific cohort of beneficiaries, say young people who are unemployed, who are quite vulnerable. So we kind of look at that.
Cool, thanks, Sam. That's really great. Cleared that up. The next one I think is one that we had quite a few times on phase 1, Louise, so I might come to you for this one. Given that there's 5 million across phase 2A, which has to last many years through construction, how do you assess worthy projects whilst maintaining budget for the future from that fund?
Thanks, Matt. Yes, so what we do is, strict financial planning. We make sure that we look across the years ahead of us, and only what we consider to be the very best projects receive funding, and that is about looking at number of beneficiaries. It's about ensuring that there are a nice spread of projects along the line of route. So it's about ensuring that we maintain that aspect of, if a lot of applications are coming in from one area, we would start to do maybe more targeted engagement in areas where there are fewer applications. And it's just as we go along year by year, it's assessing where we've had applications in from and then making sure that there's a fair spread as best we can. But absolutely, we will need to make sure that the funding is not spent before the end of construction, and that is about looking at how much money we've spent the year previous and thinking about the year ahead. So now we've been doing that for nearly 4 years for phase 1. We're well practiced on that now, ready for phase 2A.
Excellent, thank you. I just realised I missed one a little bit earlier, so I'm just going to pop back to it because I think it's a useful one for everyone to hear the answer to. Someone's written in that they have a potential project close to both the phase 2A and the phase 1 project near to Fradley, and it's asking if there's any benefit to applying to phase 2A, but I guess the question is, can you apply to both pots? I'm not sure, Louise, is that one for you?
I can answer that one.
Oh, thanks, Sam.
So it is up to applicants to check the environmental statements produced by HS2 and to determine themselves really as to where the greater impact, greater sort of effect of disruption is, whether it's going to be phase 1 or phase 2A. What we'll do when we receive applications as well is we check those environmental statements, and we'll get in touch with you whether if we feel if you've sort of ticked to say it's a phase 2A project. If we feel that the majority of the disruption is going to be in phase 1, we can get in touch with you and those negotiators as to which fund you kind of fit in. But what we're trying to do is make it seamless for applicants.
Yeah. So you couldn't necessarily get funding from both pots. Is that the answer to that sort of?
Yeah, I think there's a question later about sort of like multiple bids as well. So I can kind of answer that one.
Cool. Let's leave that then, because that's great. Thanks, Sam. Because that sort of thing leads into this next question, which is there's a couple actually. Is there any pre-application support available from Groundwork? And also linked to that, are we taking into consideration smaller community groups that don't have experience with these kinds of processes? So I guess what help is there out there for organisations or small communities that might not necessarily be used to this, and can they talk to you about that?
Yeah, so what we can do is we can signpost people to other organisations who can help support you with completing applications. What we try to do is make sure all our application forms are plain English, easy to understand. There's a lot of guidance that sits alongside that. So although we wouldn't be able to offer you support in developing your application, we do signpost you so you can get as much information as possible to do that.
Cool,
what was the other part of the question? Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, so it was a similar thing, and I think you've given the answer in terms of if they're a smaller organisation who's not necessarily used to this kind of thing, what support is available.
Yeah, so we do have a helpline and we have an email address. So if anybody is experiencing any sort of concerns with applications or whether projects are eligible, they can always get in touch with us and get some pre-application advice. But what we can't do is help support you with the answers to the specific questions.
Great, thanks, Sam. Question from Brian. I think we touched on it earlier, but I'll ask it again just to make sure we pick it up. Is there a minimum grant available? Specifically, he's talking about Stone Rural Parish with a small village centre project that they're looking for around 2,000 to 3,000 for, which is about 800 metres from the line. I think we answered that, but did you want to just reiterate?
Yeah, just quickly. There's no minimum request. We have an under £10,000 application form, which is very much slimmed down to try and help applicants. But yeah, we'd encourage smaller projects because we feel that there is a real kind of value in those small projects for sort of smaller communities along the route.
Cool, that's great. Thank you. Another question here, can multiple bids be submitted by a single organisation if they are spread across different geographical areas? So can one organisation apply for multiple funds to do different things in different places?
Okay, so we don't say that people can't apply more than once, but what we do say is that that has to be once their first project is completed. I think it's 12 months after their first project is completed. What we've got as a sort of a requirement as well, or sort of like the part of the programme, is that we prioritise applications from people that we haven't funded before. So we do expect you to put in for your priority project. So if you've got several projects that you're thinking of being funded, have a chat with your community and decide which of those is the priority, because we can't guarantee that you'll get funding in the future because of that fair distribution across the line of route, but also making sure that all organisations have got a chance as well at funding.
Cool, thanks, Sam. Next question, what defines strategic as opposed to local? Is that for Louise?
Happy to take that question. So for a strategic project, we would be looking for a project where it spans multiple geographies, so across several local authority areas. So it's a wide geographical project. It could also be a project that draws people in from a long distance. So it's a project where people are willing to travel sort of a long way, and it's about a high number of beneficiaries as well. So think about a sort of, for us, strategic is about multiple geographies, multiple beneficiaries, and additionally like long-term legacy type projects. That's where we draw the line. So between the under 75,000 and the over 75,000 pound projects. And we've got plenty of examples now on our online map where you can see projects which have received over 75,000 pounds and therefore are deemed a strategic project. So please do check out the case studies we have on our interactive map online.
Excellent, thank you. That makes sense. Okay, so we have a specific question which I think will be for Sam. We are a model engineering company with over 100 members sited on the Staffordshire Showground site. We provide train rides for local community and also run at the county show. Do you think we would be eligible for a grant to improve our buildings and facilities? They will be affected by the Phase 2A project.
Yeah, that sounds like an eligible project. Again, have a look at an eligible organisation, have a look at our guidance. One of the important things is around consultation with communities to evidence that need, how you've planned your project. A capital project is eligible. So can't see any reason why that wouldn't be eligible for funding.
Excellent, good news. Cool. Okay, so next question is one for Vicky. In terms of the supply chain, if we want to present how we can support and serve the construction and transport infrastructure in our locality, what ways can they do this outside of the formal tender process?
Okay, thanks, Matt. I think for me, what I'd advise is registering on Compete For. So on Compete For, whilst that's the formal route into that tender and bidding process, it's also a great networking platform for you as a business with subcontractors or potential contractors as well. So that's kind of the first thing I'd say. The second thing is that we do hold regular events with contractors where our contractors come along, basically meet the contractor events where you can talk to the contractors, the procurement leads who are out buying the supplies and services to discuss any opportunities that there might be. Obviously at the moment much of that has been virtual. So we are holding in the week commencing the 23rd of November a series of events and one of those is a Meet the Subcontractor event, which might be really useful for you to sign up for. I don't have the exact date and time of that webinar, but if you are happy to do so, if you share your details, we can make sure you get that information after this event as well. In terms of other opportunities, so all of the contractors also have direct email addresses that you can get in touch with the procurement leads directly to ask questions, and also see if there's an opportunity for your particular business and supply. And again, I'm happy to share those details with you after the event, if you're happy to share your contact details.
Excellent. I was just frantically looking for the date of that event that you're talking about, and I failed miserably. Maybe if we carry on with the questions, you can have a quick look and just put it in the panel, Vicky.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, will do.
Just another thing to mention on the supply chain side whilst we're here, outside of the tender process, I think the other opportunity comes in terms of workforce in a specific area. Obviously in the 2A part of the world, we're a little bit further away from that at the moment. So I think really within the sort of formal engagement and tender process is probably your best bet. But that engagement process from the contractors, we are expecting to kind of pick up in the new year in terms of the activity they do. So I think, yeah, keep your eyes peeled for events on that front, because there'll be plenty of scope for conversation. I'm just looking at the next question that's come in. Oh yes, someone just lost connection on the population density deprived areas question. So I'll try and do a quick recap, and if I get it wrong, Sam, jump in. Essentially, Sam went through how it works, and those characteristics wouldn't necessarily be something that formed the basis of a yes or a no for a bid, but it may be something that they would consider in terms of kind of the level of benefit. Do you want to just expand on that, Sam? Because I'm not sure I quite did your answer justice.
Sorry, was that was to do with the population?
Population density and
population density, yeah.
Yeah.
So I said that
and deprivation, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, and deprivation as well. So deprivation, we would look at in terms of the need for your project. So it's always useful to have that in as evidence, but we wouldn't score an application higher because it's working in a deprived area than one that's working in a more affluent area. In terms of population density, again, that's something we'd look at in terms of number of beneficiaries and take into consideration that beneficiaries may well be lower in an area where the population is lower, as opposed to a project that's in a more urban area where the population would be higher.
Cool, thanks, Sam. And actually, you can rewind the session. I've just seen that there's another question, I think maybe from the same person, that's just come in around the distance criteria. In fact, no, I didn't ask that one. Apologies. So the current application process under phase 1 sets distance criteria between the project and the railway line. Is this going to be the same under phase 2A, and how will this impact on projects situated on things like our HS2 construction traffic route? So okay. I'm not sure if that's for Sam or Louise.
Yeah, I can answer that one. There isn't actually a specific distance criteria. What we do say is that projects within a kilometre of the route will be prioritised. In the disruption area of the application, there's an opportunity to, sort of explain, even if your project is further from the route, the disruption that will be caused, whether that's through transport routes or sometimes some off-site engineering that might be taking place as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We are slowly running out of questions now, so I'll just do one final call out to see if anybody has anything else they would like to ask. If so, please put it in there. Just to reiterate, I'm sure you all got that. One of the questions we always get is, if you're a business yourself, can you apply for funding? Louise, did you want to just take that one?
Certainly happy to take that. So for Seth and Bleth, we don't accept applications from individual businesses. We'd be looking at business groups to apply. So this could be through a local enterprise partnership or a business improvement district. So yes, we don't fund individual businesses.
Cool, excellent. And I can see that Vicky has just put some contact details in there in terms of how to share your contact details with us. Let me just check the panel. We're slowly getting towards the end of the session. I'll just make sure we haven't missed anything. Question here, we're looking to apply for a strategic bid jointly with a football federation. How would that work? So how do strategic bids with multiple organisations work? Probably one person.
So our guidance has information about if you're as part of a partnership. We do need a lead applicant, and that lead applicant, there's also sort of criteria around how much each partner can have funding. So in terms of if it's I think it's up to 40%. Don't quote me on that. Do take a look at our guidance. But the lead applicant has to be responsible for the majority of the funding that we award. As I say, our guidance outlines sort of like who should be the lead applicant and how to evidence partnership work.
Excellent. And I'll just ask, based on that, one final question for you, Sam. So, assuming that all the people on the call apply and get, you know, lots of successful bids and they all fund their schemes, what's required of them after that point? So do they just get on and spend the money, or do they have to kind of be in touch with you? Like, how does it work after that?
Okay, so yeah, we monitor the grant closely. So what we do is set up sort of like a payment profile with each applicant. And with each claim of the grant, we'd expect some evidence of progress, explaining how the project is delivering, how it's meeting its outcomes, and then at the end of that, we'd expect a final kind of completion report. With capital projects, we know that if you build a play area, that's not the end; it will be used. So we will come back to projects after 12 months. To find out just how that capital project has delivered benefits to the community. Part of our work as well is working with HS2 to continue to promote the funds and also provide case studies. So if it's a particularly innovative or exciting project, we may well be in touch to draft up a case study that can go on the website and be shared wider.
Excellent. And I think, yeah, no more questions coming in. So I hope you've all found that very useful. Thank you very much for your attendance, and thank you very much for asking questions. These sessions are always much better for everybody when we have that sort of level of engagement. So hopefully lots of information for you all to think about there. If you do have time, we will circulate these slides, and we would really appreciate your feedback on this event. There's a link there that you can click on when we send around the slides, and we will hopefully get some feedback for you. I've thrown off there because as I was rounding up, we had one more question in from Brian, which I'm going to go to. Is a plaque required at project sites? So do we have to acknowledge that HS2 has funded the project? I think is the tacit question there. Maybe for Louise?
I'll answer this. Yes,
okay.
If it's a capital project, then yeah, we'll provide you with a plaque and also work with you to identify the best place for that plaque to go.
Okay, cool, excellent. I'll go back to closing up and say thank you again, everybody. If you do get time, please do fill out the survey, because that will really help us in terms of the way we improve our events and tweak things to make it better for you. But hopefully you found that really useful. All have a very good day, and with that I'll close the event a couple of minutes early and give you some time back. Thank you very much.